Is learning to code worth it anymore? I have a pretty basic level knowledge of programming from a course I took a few years ago. I just tried vibe coding last night with GitHub Copilot and AI agents in VS Code and made a few working apps within 20 minutes or so. As someone who doesn't know much about programming, is the future just going to be vibe coding without the need to learn how to code? I imagine these AI tools are just going to get exponentially better in a few years. I just like to hear from the perspective of a real programmer. What does the future of coding, the job market, and app creation look like? I'm kind of two minds about this because, by one stripe, I would say that no. Do you need to learn the syntax of different languages? Probably not. You probably, for a number of years, it's going to remain useful that you know data structures. Now, the one big gap in agentic programming right now is agents are not particularly great at adhering to patterns. And that's because an agent is conscious within the context of a context window, meaning it has all of the characteristics that you would ascribe to consciousness, including a self-narrative. It's able to construct one or model one. But it does it's just within these 200K tokens, man. And so it can't really make the types of architectural decisions that a human being would make. What I mean by that is that let's say that I don't want to deal with the complexities of a Redis client in my code base. At least the one that I can import. Because every time, based on how my setup works, I have to add 10 lines of code to the client call or the setup even, right? And I don't want to deal with that. So I create a package that whenever I'm using Redis, I carry it around with me, right? And throughout my whole code base, that's used. But then the agent sees that we're using Redis and either uses the traditional way of using it or uses the way that I made wrong. Okay, let's say that that's the case. Or let's say the agent made it and it just fails to reuse what it made, which happens all the time. It'll make infrastructure in your code base and it will fail to reuse it. And so you'll end up with 10 different ways to do the same thing effectively because context gathering is imperfect and context window is not infinite. Now that will probably change. But the degree to which it's able, I'd say that's one bucket is we think this will change based on context windows growing and the model getting smarter about gathering context. And people starting to treat context like the wall of text as a programming surface. That will get better. The tools will get better. But then there's this thing of what should your code base be like? What should be done? What's the appropriate thing to do? What is your standard for user experience? As a human, what does that user experience feel like? These are gaps in agents, in agentic coding, that are going to be there for we don't know how much longer. Because as LLMs improve, or as we even get a new architecture online, who knows? But just talking about LLMs, as LLMs have improved, random things that were huge gaps in what LLMs can do, random things just got filled in with scale. We scaled up and there was this thing that LLMs just don't seem to be good at it. We don't know why. And we don't know when that stops. And then we scaled up a little bit and it's gone. It can just do that now. So we don't really know when that stops, but probably pretty soon. I would say that if you're looking at a 10-year time frame, will it be necessary that I know architecture of software programming, or is it just that I have a want? Do I just have an intent? I want to be able to do this. Let me explain that coarsely in human language and the AI will be able to do it. Yeah, probably in 10 years. Probably. But I think in the time between now and then, those who are able to, you're basically in a race. You're in a big glass room, right? And there's money's going to be flooding through the room and you just have to catch as much of it as you can. But you don't know programming yet, right? And so you got small hands. And it's there'll be tons of people in that room who are senior programmers and they're going to fade that money is flying around. They will. They'll be I get money from my paycheck. I don't know about all this money flying around. It seems clunky to reach out and grab $100 bills. That they're doing that now, they're going to continue to do that. And so their ability to catch that money goes down. Yours goes up relative to theirs. So now you're starting to get a little bit better. You have an advantage, is that you don't fade the opportunity. And then two, if you're going to have an advantage, it is in over-indexing all of your learning and attention on doing the parts of building applications that humans can still do, and doing none of the parts that humans don't need to do anymore. And if you can strike that balance, it might be the case that people who are already super smart about architecture are busy with other things, and you can get the apples that fell on the ground that they didn't pick up. And that's kind of the gold rush that you have in front of you in the next 10 years is like, okay, I can't get a leg up in programming, but I don't need one anymore. I can't get a leg up over senior engineers who know architecture really well, but they're kind of being idiots about this. So maybe like I've got a head start on them. And so it's like, okay, get immersed in figuring out how the things that aren't explicitly just writing code go. Servers, okay? Servers and budgeting, security models, threat models, databasing, multi-platform support. Okay. These are all different things that like you have to make decisions in these domains that don't really have to do with you writing code. Integration, service versus monorepo, like microservices versus like monorepo. This is a key decision that you could make. It drastically impacts your software. These are all, and then like marketing and understanding user desires and what would make a cool user experience design. These are all things that like, these are the gaps that currently exist, but they're not going to exist for long. And like, I think actually design is a way bigger gap that people are saying, oh, LLMs can like make images now. And it's like, yeah, but they suck at making cool websites. They make slop, dude. They're not good at it yet. So you can be good at it in the ways that it's not. So I hope that helps.